Right. So buckle up, everybody, because today we're diving deep into a topic that's, well, it's a bit of a minefield, to be honest.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're talking about the sometimes pretty rocky relationship between science and religion.
Okay.
And, especially when you throw political power into the mix, things can get really interesting.
Yeah.
But that's what we're here for. We're going to be like time travelers going way back into history, and we'll see how these dynamics have actually shaped the world around us.
It's funny, when you think about it, science and religion both kind of come from the same place.
Really?
Yeah, it's that basic human need to, like, figure out where we fit in the grand scheme of things.
Mm.
But they just go about it in totally different ways, right? Different methods, different perspectives.
Yeah.
And that's where the sparks start to fly.
Yeah, and what's interesting is that our source material for this deep dive really emphasizes how, like, both science and religion are super important for a healthy society. But things go sideways
Yeah.
when either one gets taken to, like, an extreme or when they get all tangled up with political power.
Absolutely. It's all about balance, isn't it?
Yeah.
Think about it. Science, that gives us the tools to understand the world around us, to build things, to innovate.
Right.
And then you've got religion, which offers, well, moral frameworks, a sense of purpose. When they work together, it's beautiful, like a perfectly tuned instrument. But when one side starts drowning out the other,
Yeah.
well, that's when things start to fall apart.
And our source material actually points to a really, really powerful example of this in history. Emperor Constantine's conversion to Christianity back in the 4th century.
Oh, huge turning point. That really was when Christianity went from, being a persecuted sect to the official religion of the whole Roman Empire.
Wow.
And it changed everything.
Yeah, and our source material is pretty upfront about the downsides of this. It talks about how, like, paganism, Greco-Roman philosophy, all these other belief systems and intellectual traditions that were thriving before, they started to get pushed aside.
And that's the danger, right? When one way of thinking becomes the only acceptable way of thinking.
Right.
Take the Library of Alexandria.
Oh, yeah?
This incredible center of learning, packed with scrolls and texts from all these different cultures and traditions. It's just gone.
And who knows what was lost there.
Exactly. All that knowledge, all those different perspectives just wiped out. And it makes you wonder, could things have been different if there had been more tolerance for different ways of thinking?
It's a chilling thought, really. And it brings us to something that's, well, pretty relevant today. Our source material talks about Christian nationalism. So can you kind of break that down for us a little? Like, what exactly is it?
So Christian nationalism is basically a movement that wants to shape the government based on a very specific set of Christian beliefs.
Okay.
And it's definitely raising some eyebrows because, well, how do you create a government based on one religion's beliefs while still protecting the rights and freedoms of people who have different beliefs or no religious beliefs at all?
That's a tough question, isn't it? And the source actually lays out some of the potential risks here. It argues that, Christian nationalism could end up pushing away people who aren't part of that specific Christian group. And it could even, like, chip away at some of the core principles of democracy, like the idea of separating church and state.
And that goes back to what we were talking about earlier, right? When religious doctrine starts dictating policy instead of facts, it can be, well, a recipe for disaster.
Yeah.
Think about it. What happens to education? What happens to healthcare? What happens to our efforts to, protect the environment?
Yeah.
If we're making decisions based on dogma instead of, evidence and what's actually best for everyone, it's a scary thought.
Yeah, it's a lot to think about for sure, but even with all these potential problems, the source material still ends on a hopeful note.
Really?
Yeah, it says that we can find a better way to balance science and religion. It just takes work.
It does.
Yeah, it says that, religion should respect the fact that science needs to do its own thing to explore and question freely. But at the same time, science should be open to thinking about the ethical and spiritual implications of its discoveries.
It's like two sides of the same coin,
Yeah.
You need both sides for it to have value.
Exactly. And obviously having a system of government that's secular, where no one religion has all the power,
Yeah.
that's super important too.
Absolutely. That's how you create a space where everyone feels like their voice matters no matter what they believe.
And and education.
Oh, huge. Education is it's like the key. It helps people think critically, It encourages them to be curious about the world, both the physical world that science explores and the spiritual side of things that religion grapples with.
Yeah.
It gives people the tools to figure things out for themselves.
Wow, this has been a really thought-provoking deep dive. We've covered a lot of ground here.
We have.
And, it makes me think about what we were discussing earlier about how concentrating power in one place can actually hold back progress.
Mm.
So here's a challenge for you listeners. Take a look around, look at what's happening in the world right now.
Okay.
Where do you see this same kind of dynamic playing out?
Mm.
And how could we've been talking about open dialogue, secular government, and really investing in education, how could those things help us navigate these challenges?
It's definitely something worth pondering.
It is. Thanks for joining us for this deep dive. We'll see you next time.
See you next time.
Bye.
Bye.